My husband put a quitclaim deed on our kitchen table and told me I would be a selfish mother if I refused to sign my house over to him by Friday. He said it quietly, almost tenderly, like he was asking me to pick up milk on the way home. Upstairs, our 2-year-old twins were asleep in their cribs, Noah with his stuffed green dinosaur tucked under one arm and Lily with her yellow blanket pressed against her cheek. Rain tapped against the old windows of the craftsman house I had bought 4 years before I married Grant Keller, back when I was still doing double shifts at Vanderbilt Children's Hospital and eating vending machine crackers for dinner. Grant slid the papers closer to me. "Emily, this is not a big dramatic thing," he said. "It's just smart planning." The word planning made my stomach tighten. The papers were clean and official looking. Property transfer. Quitclaim deed. Notary acknowledgement. My full name, Emily Harper Keller, was printed as the current owner. Grant's name waited underneath, neat and hungry. That house was not just a house to me. It was every Christmas shift I had worked while other people opened presents. It was 10 years of saving. It was the first front porch I ever sat on without wondering who could tell me to leave. I bought it when I was 31. Single, exhausted, and proud in a way I had never allowed myself to be. I sanded the old hardwood floors with my own hands. I painted the twins' nursery pale blue and butter yellow. I planted hydrangeas by the mailbox. I turned the back room into a tiny office where I reviewed patient charts after everyone else in the house had gone to sleep. Grant tapped the page with one finger. "My accountant says it would protect us," he said. "With your malpractice risk and the hospital stuff, it's better if the house is in my name." "My malpractice risk?" I repeated. "You're a doctor, Em. Lawsuits happen. I'm a pediatrician, not a drug lord." He smiled, but his eyes did not warm. "Don't be defensive." That was his favorite word for me lately. Defensive. Sensitive. Paranoid. Controlling. Whenever I asked why he changed stethoscope on his phone, I was paranoid. Whenever I asked why he suddenly had late meetings at the agency 4 nights a week, I was controlling. Whenever I noticed the smell of a perfume I didn't own on his collar, I was sensitive. And if I ever cried, he would sigh like I had spilled something he had to clean up. I looked at the papers again. "Why would it have to be only in your name?" I asked. His jaw shifted. "Because I'm the one actually managing the house while you're gone all the time." That landed harder than I expected. He saw it and kept going. "You know it's true. I deal with the plumber. I handle the lawn guy. I call the insurance company. I'm the one home with the kids when you get called in." "My mother watches the kids when I get called in," I said. "Because I have clients. And I have patients." He leaned back in his chair and rubbed his face, performing exhaustion like a man on a stage. "This is what I mean. I can't talk to you anymore. Every normal conversation becomes a courtroom." Normal. He had placed the deed to my house in front of me and called it normal. I wanted to believe he was stressed. I wanted to believe the man I married was somewhere under the expensive cologne, new gym muscles, late-night texts, and sudden criticism of everything I did. I wanted to believe he still loved the life we built. So I did the thing tired wives do when they are still trying to save something. I softened. "I just need time to understand it." Grant reached across the table and covered my hand with his. "Of course," he said. "But not too much time. The accountant said we should get this done this week." "Why this week?" His fingers tightened for less than a second. "Because rates and filings change." "I didn't know, Em. That's why we pay professionals." The next morning, between a 5-year-old with pneumonia and a baby with a fever, I called my college roommate, Jenna Price, from a supply closet at the hospital. Jenna was a real estate attorney in Nashville, the kind of woman who could read a contract like it had personally insulted her. He whispered, "Grant wants me to sign a quitclaim deed transferring the house to him. He says it's for taxes and liability." There was a pause. Then Jenna said, "Do not sign anything." My hand went cold around the phone. "That bad?" "Emily, if you bought that house before marriage and kept it in your name, it is separate property unless you did something to convert it. Transferring it to him does not magically protect your family. It makes you vulnerable." "How vulnerable?" "If he divorces you after that, he could claim ownership. He could try to force you out. With 2 toddlers involved, it could become a nightmare." I leaned against a shelf stacked with gloves and sterile gauze. He said I was being selfish. "That is not legal advice," Jenna said. "That is pressure." All day, I moved through exam rooms on autopilot. I listened to lungs, checked ears, reassured mothers, ordered labs, smiled at children who were braver than most adults I knew. But inside, I kept seeing Grant's finger tapping my name on that deed. That night, after the twins went down, Grant stood in the bathroom trimming his beard for 12 minutes. He wore the navy shirt I used to love on him, the one that made his eyes look lighter. He sprayed cologne twice, then once more. "Client dinner?" I asked from the doorway. He did not look at me in the mirror. "Potential retainer. Big account." What kind of account? Emily. Just my name, flat. Warning. I nodded and stepped away. When he left, I did something I had never done in 7 years with him. I opened the old iPad we kept on the counter for recipes and toddler cartoons. It was still synced to his phone in strange little ways, the way devices are when no one remembers what they connected years ago. The call log appeared under recent activity. One number showed up again and again. 63 times in 2 months. I copied it into my phone and searched. The name came up on a public Instagram profile within seconds. Brianna Vale. 26, Senior Account Executive at Keller and Moss Creative. Her profile was a carousel of glossy restaurants, mirror selfies, white wine, and captions about claiming the life you deserve. In one picture, she sat across from a man whose hand rested near a half-empty whiskey glass. His face was cropped out, but I knew the watch. I had bought Grant that watch for our anniversary. Then I saw the post that made the room tilt. Brianna stood in front of a real estate office downtown, smiling in a cream blazer, with the caption, Newt, G. I sat at the kitchen island while the baby monitor glowed beside me. Lily coughed once in her sleep. Noah rolled over and mumbled something about dinosaurs. I stared at the screen until the words blurred. I did not cry. Not then. Crying would have made him too human in my mind. Crying would have meant this was heartbreak. But this felt different. This felt like someone had walked into my children's room and measured the walls. The next day, I bought a small digital recorder from a Best Buy near the hospital. I felt ridiculous standing in the aisle, still wearing my scrubs, reading the back of the package like I was about to become an undercover detective. But when the cashier asked if I wanted a warranty, I almost laughed. No warranty covered a marriage like mine. I hid the recorder behind a ceramic jar of coffee beans on the kitchen counter. Then I made dinner. Chicken pot pie from scratch, because Grant loved it and because men like him relaxed when they thought they were winning. I fed the twins early. Noah smeared peas across his tray. Lily threw her spoon and laughed when it clattered against the floor. I kissed them both, breathed in baby shampoo and laundry detergent, and tucked them into bed while Grant scrolled through his phone downstairs. When I returned, he was already at the table, looking pleased. I've been thinking, I said. His eyes lifted. About the house? I nodded. His face softened into the version of himself he used when he wanted to be believed. I knew you'd come around. I want to understand everything first. Of course. He talked for 25 minutes. He said marriage was trust. He said I had trouble letting go because my father left when I was 9. He said I used the house as a shield. He said our children needed unity, not a mother who treated their father like a threat. He said if I loved him, I would stop making him prove himself. Every sentence went into the recorder. At one point, I asked, and nothing changes after I sign? He reached for my hand. Nothing except we're safer. Safer from what? His smile flickered. From life. Later, I told him I was going upstairs to check on the twins. Instead, I stood in the hallway, barefoot on the cold floor, close enough to hear him in the kitchen. His phone rang. He answered on the second ring. Hey, he said, voice low. No, she's almost there. I told you she just needs to feel like it's her decision. A pause. Then he laughed softly. Bree, relax. Once the house is in my name, I'll talk to the attorney. Emily and the kids can stay with her mom for a while. You'll be in before the end of the month. My hand flew to my mouth. My knees nearly gave out. He continued, almost annoyed. I know what I promised you. I'm handling it. There it was. Not confusion. Not stress. Not a bad patch in our marriage. Aplin. Grant did not want protection. He wanted my signature, my house, my children's bedrooms, my porch, my life. And he wanted me out before the month was over. I did not sleep that night. I sat on the floor between Noah's crib and Lily's toddler bed while Nashville rain softened into a cold gray dawn. Noah breathed through his mouth with his dinosaur tucked under his chin. Lily's fingers opened and closed around the edge of her blanket. They had no idea the person they called daddy had been negotiating their roof like a business deal. By 7:30, I had packed their daycare bags, made scrambled eggs, braided Lily's soft hair into 2 uneven pigtails, and smiled at Grant like nothing inside me had cracked. He came downstairs in running clothes, kissed the twins on the head, and kissed my cheek. I nearly flinched. Think more about Friday, he murmured. I already told Mark at the title office we might come in. You already told him? Just to hold Aspet. His confidence was disgusting. After I dropped the twins off, I did not go to the hospital. I called in sick for the first time in 3 years and drove straight to Jenna's office with the deed, screenshots, the recorder, and a rage so quiet it scared me. Jenna listened to the recording without moving. When Grant's voice said, Emily and the kids can stay with her mom, her mouth tightened. When he said, you'll be in before the end of the month, she closed her laptop with both hands and stared at me. This is not just cheating, she said. This is a planned asset grab. I want him out of my house. Then we do it clean. No screaming. No throwing his clothes on the lawn. No warning him. Evidence first. Protection second. Consequences third. I wanted to scream anyway. I wanted to drive home and slap the papers across his face. I wanted to ask him how long he had been looking at our daughter's yellow nursery and imagining another woman's shoes in the hallway. Instead, I let Jenna make copies. She confirmed the purchase records, mortgage documents, and title history. The house had been bought before the marriage and paid from my separate account for years before Grant ever moved in. His name was nowhere on the deed. His contributions to utilities and occasional repairs did not make him owner, no matter how many times he called himself the man of the house. Jenna also had me write down everything I remembered. Dates he pressured me. Words he used. Threats disguised as concern. Times he questioned my sanity. Times he used the twins as leverage. It felt humiliating at first, putting my marriage into bullet points like a legal memo. But then patterns appeared. He had started talking about simplifying assets 2 weeks after Brianna posted a picture of downtown condos. He had accused me of being married to the hospital, the first time I refused to add his name to my bank account. He had insisted I was unstable whenever I asked about his phone, but he was always calm when asking me to sign something. For 5 days, I performed the role he expected from me. Tired wife. Guilty mother. Overworked doctor. Woman on the edge of surrender. Grant became almost romantic. He brought me coffee in bed. He loaded the dishwasher without sighing. He sent me heart emojis while he was at work. He texted pictures of the twins with captions like, "Everything we do is for them." At night, he sat close enough for his knee to touch mine. "You know I love you, right?" he said on Wednesday. I looked at the man planning to remove me from my own home. "I know what you say." He laughed like I was adorable. On Thursday evening, his mother came over for dinner. I had not invited her. Margaret Keller arrived with a casserole dish, red lipstick, and the cold authority of a woman who had spent decades confusing control with love. She hugged Grant first, then she looked me up and down in my wrinkled scrubs. "Still in work clothes?" she said. "I got home 20 minutes ago." "Well, mothers make time." Grant gave me a warning look over her shoulder. At dinner, Margaret brought up the house before I even sat down. "Grant told me you're hesitating on the deed." I cut Lily's pasta into tiny pieces. "I'm reviewing it." Margaret sighed. "Emily, I know you're educated, but sometimes educated women make marriage harder than it needs to be." Grant said, "Mom." But he did not mean stop. He meant not yet. She continued anyway. "A man needs to feel respected in his own home. If everything is yours, what message does that send your children?" That did something to me. Not because it hurt, though it did. Because Noah was right there, trying to stab a pea with his fork, absorbing the weather of the room like children do. Lily looked from face to face, her mouth shiny with butter. I put down the knife. The message it sends me children is that their mother worked hard and kept a roof over their heads. Margaret's smile thinned. "Don't turn this into a feminist speech." Grant muttered, "Emily, please." I felt his foot press against mine under the table. A warning. A command. He did not know the recorder was in the pocket of my cardigan. Margaret leaned back and delivered the line that made me understand she had either been told a lie or had chosen one. "If you were my daughter, I would tell you not to risk losing your husband over a pile of bricks." I looked at Grant. He looked away. That night, after Margaret left, he cornered me in the laundry room while the dryer thumped behind us. "You embarrassed me." "Your mother embarrassed herself." His face changed. The soft husband vanished. The man from the phone call looked out through his eyes. "You think you're untouchable because you bought this place before me?" I stayed still. He stepped closer. "You work 60 hours a week, Emily. You miss bedtime. You miss breakfast. You think a judge is going to look at you and see Mother of the Year?" There it was. The threat beneath the paperwork. My throat tightened, but I did not give him tears. "Are you threatening custody now?" "I'm saying don't start a war you can't win." When he walked away, I stood between the washer and dryer, shaking so hard the wire hangers rattled beside me. The next morning was Friday. The day he thought I would sign. Grant dressed like he was going to a wedding. Charcoal suit. White shirt. The watch I had bought him. His hair carefully styled. He even put on the cologne Brianna probably liked. He came downstairs smiling. "Ready?" I was at the kitchen table with the deed in front of me. "Yes," I said. "I made my decision." He kissed my temple. "I knew you would." The sound of the doorbell cut through the kitchen. Grant frowned. "Are you expecting someone?" "Yes." I picked up my phone and pressed play. His voice filled the kitchen. "Once the house is in my name, I'll talk to the attorney. Emily and the kids can stay with her mom for a while. You'll be in before the end of the month." Grant froze. Color drained from his face so quickly he looked almost ill. I watched him hear himself. For the first time in months, he had no sentence ready. Then the mask snapped back into place. That's out of context. What context makes that better? You were spying in me? You were planning to steal my home. He laughed once, ugly and sharp. Steal? I'm your husband. You were moving your mistress into my children's house. He slammed his palm on the table. Do not call her that. That told me everything. The doorbell rang again. Grant pointed at me. You are making the biggest mistake of your life. No, I said. I made that when I kept giving you the benefit of the doubt. I opened the door. Jenna stood on the porch in a black coat, holding a folder. Beside her was a process server with a shaved head and a bored expression, the kind of man who had seen every version of family disaster and no longer flinched. Grant stared at them. What the hell is this? Jenna stepped inside. Grant Keller, all communication regarding the property at 1842 Rosemont Avenue will now go through counsel. Dr. Keller will not be signing any transfer documents. You are also being notified of a temporary filing to prevent unauthorized transfer, encumbrance, or attempted clouding of title. Grant scoffed. You can't just walk into my house and perform legal theater. Jenna looked at him the way she looked at bad contracts. This is not your house. His eyes went flat. Emily, tell your friend to leave. No, he turned on me so fast the process server shifted his stance. You have no idea what you're doing. I know exactly what I'm doing. He lowered his voice. You think people are going to believe some exhausted doctor who barely knows what day it is? You think they won't notice how unstable you've been? Jenna opened the folder. Say that again. I want to make sure the recording catches it clearly. Grant's mouth shut. The silence was better than screaming. For about 3 seconds, I felt like I had one. Then Grant smiled. It was small and mean. You should have signed when I asked nicely. My skin went cold. He left that afternoon with 2 suitcases, a laptop bag, and the expression of a man who had not lost, only paused. Before he walked out, he looked toward the stairs where the twins were napping. You're going to regret making me your enemy. I stood in the doorway. You made yourself one. He went to Brianna. I knew because she posted a picture that night of 2 wine glasses on a balcony with the caption, "Peace looks good." Jenna told me not to respond to anything. No texts. No calls. No social media, let him talk himself into evidence. Men like Grant always did. She was right. By Sunday, he had sent 42 messages. Some were sweet. I hate what happened. We can fix this. Some were cruel. No judge will give full custody to a woman who pawns her kids off on daycare. Some were ridiculous. That recording is illegal and you know it. Jenna saved all of them. On Monday morning, as I was walking into the hospital, my phone rang from an unknown number. I almost ignored it. Then a woman's voice said, "Is this Emily Keller?" Yes. My name is Morgan Wells. You don't know him, but I know your husband. I stopped in the middle of the parking garage. He did this to me 6 years ago, she said. My fingers tightened around the phone. What do you mean? He convinced me to co-sign a business loan. Said it was for our future. When I was stuck with the debt, he disappeared with a woman from his office. My knees went weak. Morgan kept talking. I saw your post in a private legal group. The attorney you tagged used the words, quitclaim deed, and pressure. I knew it was him before I saw the name. I leaned against a concrete pillar. There are others? At least 2 that I know of. Before I could answer, another call came in. Jenna. I merged the calls with shaking hands. Jenna did not say hello, Emily, I need you to stay calm. The parking garage seemed to tilt. What happened? I just got a call from a title clerk I know. Grant tried to start a transfer packet yesterday using an electronic signature page. But I didn't sign. I know, Jenna said. That's the problem. Morgan whispered, oh my God. Jenna's voice sharpened. Emily, your husband may have forged your signature. For a second, I heard nothing. Not the cars. Not the hospital traffic. Not my own breath. Then Jenna said the sentence that turned my fear into something harder. If he filed that paperwork, we are no longer just protecting your house. We are taking him apart. The first time I saw the forged signature, I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because my body had run out of appropriate reactions. Jenna had obtained a copy of the incomplete transfer packet from the title office after the clerk, thank God. Felt something was off and refused to push it through without direct confirmation from me. My name appeared at the bottom of the page in a slanted, dramatic version of my handwriting, like Grant had copied my signature from a Christmas card and tried to make it look casual. He had spelled my middle initial wrong. That tiny mistake saved my sanity for about 5 minutes. Then the rage came. Not hot rage. Not screaming rage. A clear, clean, terrifying rage. Grant had not only planned to trick me. When I refused, he tried to erase my refusal. Jenna filed everything the same day. Emergency injunction. Fraud claim. Divorce petition, request for exclusive use of the marital residence. Custody protections. A report regarding suspected forgery. She moved with a speed that made me understand why bad men hated women with folders. Morgan came to my house 2 nights later. She was 39, with tired eyes, a beige trench coat, and the posture of someone who had survived humiliation but still carried it in her shoulders. She brought a worn accordion folder tied with a rubber band. We sat in my kitchen. The same kitchen where Grant had smiled and tapped the deed. Morgan looked around and said, "He always picks women with something to lose." I poured coffee because my hands needed a job. She opened the folder. There were loan papers, emails, text messages, pictures of Grant from years before I met him, younger but wearing the same charming expression. In the messages, he called Morgan brilliant. He said they were building a future. He told her she was guarded because she had been hurt before. He told her signing the loan would prove she believed in them. I had to stand up and walk to the sink. It was like reading the first draft of my own destruction. "He said you were crazy?" I asked. Morgan nodded. Unstable. Controlling. Bitter. Obsessed with work. By the end, I was apologizing to him for asking where the money went. What happened? The loan defaulted. He vanished. I spent years paying for a business that never existed. Jenna sat beside her, taking notes. Morgan swallowed. I didn't come forward because I was embarrassed. It hot people would ask how I could be so stupid. I turned from the sink. "You were not stupid." Her eyes filled. "Neither were you." That was the first time I cried. Not for Grant. Not for the marriage. For the women we had been when we believed love was supposed to make us smaller, quieter, easier to convince. The case moved faster than I expected and slower than I could stand. Grant responded to the divorce petition by going nuclear. He claimed I was emotionally unstable. He said my hospital schedule made me an absent mother. He said I had fabricated the affair because he was jealous of his professional relationship with Brianna. He said the house had been maintained by marital labor and therefore should be considered partly his. He said he feared for the twins because I had a pattern of paranoia. Then he requested temporary custody. For 11 minutes after Jenna read that filing to me, I could not speak. The house mattered. My pride mattered. But Noah and Lily were my heart walking outside my body. Grant knew exactly where to cut. The temporary hearing happened on a Thursday morning in a courthouse that smelled like old paper and floor polish. I wore a navy dress Jenna chose because she said it looked calm. I did not feel calm. I felt like one wrong breath could shatter my ribs. Grant arrived with a lawyer who looked expensive enough to bill by the blink. He wore a white shirt, no tie, wounded expression. Margaret came with him, clutching tissues like she was attending a funeral for her son's reputation. Brianna was not there. I noticed that immediately. Grant's lawyer stood and painted me as a brilliant doctor but a failing wife. Too busy, too controlling. Too emotional. He said Grant only wanted to protect the family from financial risk. He said the recording was a misunderstanding. He said I had weaponized private marital tension. Then Jenna stood. She did not raise her voice, that was what made her dangerous. She played the audio. Grant's voice filled the courtroom. "Once the house is in my name, I'll talk to the attorney. Emily and the kids can stay with her mom for a while. You'll be in before the end of the month." No one moved. Even Margaret stopped dabbing her eyes. Grant stared at the table. His lawyer whispered something to him. Jenna then displayed Brianna's real estate post. The call log. Grant's messages threatening custody. The attempted electronic signature. The wrong middle initial. Morgan's sworn statement. The previous loan documents. The judge looked at Grant over her glasses with the expression of a woman who had heard many lies but still disliked sloppy ones. Grant tried to recover. "I was angry," he said. "I said things I didn't mean." Jenna asked, "Did you attempt to submit a deed packet after my client refused to sign?" "No." Jenna placed the title office email on the projector. His lawyer closed Heises. Grant said, "I didn't realize that was submitted." "Submitted by whom?" "I don't know." Jenna clicked once. The metadata on the upload showed it came from Grant's business email. That was twist one in open court. The expensive lawyer went very still. The judge ordered temporary exclusive use of the house to me. Grant was barred from entering without written permission. The twins stayed primarily with me pending further evaluation, with supervised visitation until the court reviewed the threats and fraud allegations. The attempted transfer was frozen. The suspected forgery was referred for investigation. Grant looked at me as if I had betrayed him. That almost made me laugh. Outside the courtroom, Margaret rushed toward me. "You are destroying this family." I turned to face her. "No. I'm documenting what your son did to it." She slapped me. It was not hard enough to hurt for long, but the hallway went silent. Grant grabbed her arm, not because he cared about me, but because two deputies had turned around. Jenna stepped between us. "Thank you, Mrs. Keller," she said calmly. "That helps." And it did. The hallway camera caught everything. By dinner time, Margaret had become evidence. I wish I could say the next weeks were clean and satisfying. They were not. They were ugly. Grant sent relatives to guilt me. Friends from our old church texted Bible verses about forgiveness. One of his coworkers messaged me to say office affairs were complicated and I should not ruin a man's career over hurt feelings. Brianna blocked me, unblocked me, watched my stories, and blocked me again. Then Twist 2 arrived wearing lip gloss and panic. Brianna called Jenna. Not me. That alone told me she was scared. She wanted protection before speaking. Jenna arranged a recorded meeting at her office. I sat across from Brianna at a conference table under fluorescent lights that made everyone look guilty. She was younger than me, yes, but not a cartoon villain. She was pretty in an expensive, anxious way, with perfect nails and trembling hands. I hated her less than I expected, and that almost annoyed me. "I didn't know about the forgery," she said immediately. I said nothing. She looked at Jenna. "I knew he was married. I'm not proud of that. He told me they were separated emotionally. He said the house was basically his because he had paid for renovations. He said Emily was going to keep the kids from him unless he secured the property." I leaned forward. "You posted about a new house." Her face flushed. "He told me we were moving in after the paperwork was done." "My paperwork." She looked down. "Yes." Then she opened her bag and removed her phone. "He also asked me to help create the electronic signature file." The room went silent. Jenna's pen stopped. Brianna swallowed. "He said Emily had signed on paper and he just needed a clean digital copy for the title office." I didn't know she refused. I swear I didn't know. She handed over emails. Texts. A file attachment named Emily's signature clean. Screenshots of Grant telling her not to worry, that wives get emotional around big decisions. A message from him saying, once the deed clears, she has no leverage. There are moments when betrayal becomes so complete it stops being personal and becomes almost clinical. I looked at those messages and saw Grant the way I saw a tumor on a scan. Dangerous. Growing. No longer disguised as healthy tissue, Brianna cried. I did not comfort her. But I also did not attack her. "You helped him hurt me," I said. "Now help stop him." She nodded. And she did. Once Brianna became a witness, Grant's story collapsed like wet cardboard. His firm suspended him within 24 hours of receiving a subpoena. Clients started asking questions. One major healthcare brand, which had hired his agency for a campaign about family trust, threatened to pull its account unless he was removed. The irony was almost too perfect to enjoy. Grant went online first. Of course he did. He posted a long statement about being the victim of a vindictive spouse and weaponized legal systems. He wrote that fathers are often erased. He wrote that successful women sometimes use money to control men. He never mentioned the audio, the forged signature, Morgan, or Brianna's emails. For 2 hours, people sympathized. Then Morgan did one screenshot of Grant from 6 years ago saying, "This loan is how we build our future." Under it, she wrote, "Same script. Different woman." Brianna posted next. She wrote, "I believed lies and helped a man hurt his wife. I have given evidence to her attorney." Then Jenna, with my permission, released 12 words from the recording. "Emily and the kids can stay with her mom. You'll be in." That was all. The internet did the rest. Women found the post. Nurses did it. Real estate attorneys stitched videos explaining quitclaim deeds. A family law attorney in Atlanta said, "Never sign property away because someone says love requires it." A woman in Ohio messaged me saying she had canceled a notary appointment after hearing mystery. Another in Arizona wrote, "My husband used the exact same words, for the family." I had not intended to become a warning. But once I did, I decided to be a loud one. Grant lost his job 9 days later. His statement blamed cancel culture. The court blamed evidence. The final hearing happened 4 months after the night he put the deed on my kitchen table. By then, Noah could count to 12 but skipped 7 every time. Lily had learned to say, "my house," whenever we pulled into the driveway, which made me laugh and cry in equal measure. He had changed the locks, installed cameras, and painted the front door a deep blue because the old redone reminded me of Grant coming home late. In court, Grant looked smaller. Not humble. Just cornered. His lawyer had changed. The expensive one was gone. The new one seemed tired before the hearing started. Jenna presented the chain clearly: the pressure campaign, the affair, the recorded call, the attempted deed packet, the forged signature file, Morgan's testimony, Brianna's cooperation, Margaret's hallway assault, Grant's custody threats, his public lies. Grant tried one final performance. He stood and said he had been scared of losing his family. He said made mistakes because he felt unwanted in his marriage. He said I cared more about 6 strangers than my own husband. He said men have feelings too. The judge let him finish. Then she said, Mr. Keller, feelings do not forge signatures. I will remember that sentence for the rest of my life. The ruling did not give me everything I wanted. Because real courts are not movies. But it gave me what mattered. The house remained mine. Grant had no ownership claim. The attempted transfer was void. He was ordered to pay my legal fees related to property fraud. The custody order kept the twins primarily with me, with Grant receiving supervised visitation until he completed evaluation and complied with the court's requirements. The forgery investigation continued separately. Morgan's case was reopened through a civil complaint, and 2 other women came forward after seeing the public posts. But the most satisfying moment came after the hearing, in the lobby. Grant approached me with that old soft face, the one that used to make me doubt myself. Emily, he said quietly. Can we talk without lawyers? Jenna stepped forward. I touched her arm. It's okay. Grant looked relieved. That was his mistake. He said. You've made your point. I lost my job. Brianna left. My mother is humiliated. What else do you want? I looked at the man who had tried to steal the roof over his children's heads and still thought the worst thing that happened was embarrassment. I want you to understand something, I said. You didn't lose everything because I exposed you. You lost everything because you wrote your plan down, said it out loud, tried it twice, and thought every woman involved was too ashamed to compare notes. His face hardened. You think you're some hero now? No, I said. I'm a mother with receipts. Behind him, Morgan stood near the elevators. Brianna stood several feet away, arms crossed, pale but steady. Jenna was beside me. For the first time, Grant saw all of us in one place. That was twist 3. He had built his power by keeping women separate. We ended it by standing together. He walked out alone. I did not celebrate with champagne. I went home and made grilled cheese sandwiches for Noah and Lily. Noah wanted his cut into triangles. Lily wanted hers whole until she saw Noah's, then cried because triangles suddenly mattered more than oxygen. They ate at the little kitchen table with tomato soup on their sleeves and crumbs in their hair. I watched them and felt something unclench in me. Victory was not Grant being ruined. Victory was Lily kicking her feet under the table in the house he tried to give away. Victory was Noah yelling, "Dinosaur lives here," and making his stuffed toy stomp across the floor Grant once planned to hand to Brianna. Victory was bedtime without listening for his car. That night, after the twins fell asleep, I walked through the house slowly. I touched the banister I had sanded while pregnant. I touched the kitchen tile I picked out after a 14-hour shift. I stood in the doorway of the room Grant used as his office, the room where he once took calls from Brianna and probably told her I was unstable while I folded his laundry downstairs. A week later, it turned that room into a library for the twins. I painted it warm green. I bought low shelves and filled them with picture books, puzzles, blocks, and a tiny table where Noah practiced crooked letters and Lily drew circles she insisted were cats. Above the shelves, I hung a framed print with a sentence simple enough for children and sharp enough for me. No one belongs where they do not respect. Sometimes people ask if I regret going public. The answer is complicated, but it is not no. I regret that my children will someday know their father tried to use them as leverage. I regret that love made me explain away signs I would have recognized immediately in a patient's mother. I regret every night I apologized for asking reasonable questions. I regret that another woman had to be hurt before I understood the pattern. But I do not regret telling the truth. Because after my post spread, messages came in from everywhere. A teacher in Kentucky. A nurse in Texas. A military wife in North Carolina. A grandmother in Florida. Some were long. Some were only one sentence. I was about to sign. That sentence haunted me. It also kept me standing. Jenna and Morgan and I eventually hosted a free workshop at a community center on property, marriage, debt, and dangerous documents. We thought maybe 15 women would come. 92 showed up. Some brought notebooks. Some brought sisters. One woman brought a folder so full of papers the rubber band had snapped. Another sat in the back row wearing sunglasses and cried silently for the first 20 minutes. I told them what happened without making myself look smarter than I had been. I said I was a doctor and still got manipulated. I said education does not make you immune to emotional pressure. I said Oman can save family while meaning control. I said love should never require you to sign away safety. Morgan spoke after me. Her voice shook at first, then strengthened. Brianna came too, which surprised everyone, including me. She stood at the front and said, if you are the other woman and he tells you his wife is crazy, ask yourself why he needs you to believe that before he shows you proof. No one applauded at first, then one woman did. Then the whole room. I did not forgive Brianna that day. Forgiveness is not a vending machine where someone inserts honesty and receives absolution. But I respected that she stood there and made herself useful to the truth. As for Grant, the last I heard, he was living in a short-term rental outside Murfreesboro and doing freelance ads for small businesses that did not Google very hard. His supervised visits with the twins were awkward at first. Noah hid behind my legs. Lily refused to hand him her blanket. I did not enjoy that. Despite everything, watching children become cautious around a parent is its own kind of grief. I never badmouthed him to them. When Noah asked, "Why Daddy not sleep here?" I sat on the floor with both twins and said, "Daddy made choices that hurt our home, and Mommy is keeping everyone safe." That was enough for 2-year-olds. It was almost enough for me. Healing did not arrive like fireworks. It came in small, boring ways. The first morning I made coffee and did not check the driveway. The first time I slept 6 hours without waking up angry. The first Saturday I took the twins to the farmer's market and did not feel like half the town was whispering about me. The first time I laughed so hard with Jenna and Morgan that I forgot, for 10 whole minutes, that our friendship had been born from damage. A year later, the house is still mine, the hydrangeas came back fuller than ever. The porch swing creaks when the twins climb onto it together. Noah can write his name now. Though the N is usually backward. Lily sings to the plants when she waters them and tells me the flowers listen better than grown-ups. I still work long hours at the hospital. I still come home tired. Some nights, I eat cereal over the sink after the twins are asleep. Some mornings, I find stickers on my scrub pants and wear them to work without noticing. My life is not suddenly perfect because Grant is gone. But it is honest. No one is smiling at me over coffee while planning my removal. No one is turning my exhaustion into a weapon. No one is calling my instincts paranoia because the truth is inconvenient. Sometimes, when the house is quiet, I think about that first night at the kitchen table. The rain. The deed. Grant hand over mine. His voice soft as he told me signing away my home would prove I loved my family. That is the thing about betrayal. It does not always kick down the door. Sometimes it sits across from you in a clean shirt, slides over a stack of papers, and says it is only trying to protect you. I keep the unsigned deed in a folder in my office now. Not because I want to remember him. Because I want to remember me. The woman who was tired but still listened to the warning in her gut. The woman who cried later, not first. The woman who protected the house before. She knew how she would survive the heartbreak inside it. Grant thought my love for my children would deem easy to scare. He never understood that it made me impossible to stop. I did not lose a marriage that I lost a trap. And in the room where he planned to move his mistress, my children now sit barefoot in a green rug, reading books under the afternoon light, safe inside the house their mother Refusetto surrendered.